Morning, everybody. This is Fat Cat back again. I want to talk to you about some hotshot money and how to make it and things to look out for. Um, what I want to talk to you about today is time management. Okay, in the hotshotting industry, your time management is the most important thing in your life. It defines how you get paid, it defines when you get paid, it defines what you're able to do. So, being able to manage your time is really an important part of the process. Now, in hot shotting, you have to make people respect your time, whereas everyone else in the freight industry, their time's not important. Nobody really values their time. So, how you perceive your time is really important because your time is the one thing that once you spend it, you never get it back, and you can't get it back. Once you've wasted time, it's gone. It's over. Now, potentially there's some more coming your way, but that's for future endeavors. That's not for the immediate, and it's not for the past. So, your time management is really, really important. So you got to ask yourself, how am I saving time? I heard a guy the other day that, and I hate to say this, but he was a hot shotter, new to the business, and he was like, well, yeah, if Walmart's got fuel 5 cents a gallon cheaper, I find the nearest Walmart. Okay. Remember I said in Hot Shot, you gotta have some pretty tight math skills. Okay, this guy is looking at saving 5 cents a gallon. And unfortunately, I don't know of any Walmarts that are right off the interstate. I don't know of any of them. And then you've got to get up to 40 foot of truck and trailer in there to save that 5 cents a gallon. So, I actually did this run. I went off the interstate, I went to my local Walmart, and then I got back to the interstate, and it cost me just in time going to, not including filling up, just to and back to my starting point off the interstate. It cost me about an extra 40 minutes. In hot shotting, 30 minutes is anywhere from 35 to 40 miles down the highway. And it's one of those things that you waste enough 35 and 45 minutes in a day, and you are several hours behind schedule, and you don't even know how you got that. I mean, you don't know how that happened. So your time management is really important, and the best way to understand your time management is to understand your numbers. Okay, if you understand your numbers, your average run rate, which is how long it takes you on average to go from point A to point B without any encumbrances, then you actually have a pretty solid grasp of your time and what it's worth and what it costs you. So, to me, 5 cents a gallon for 40 minutes is not really worth it. It just no. When I could zip off the interstate, it's usually most truck stops are 5 minutes off the interstate. You whip in. If you've got a fuel card, if you're using Comdata or a Pilot card or something like that, you're saving 20 cents a gallon. Okay, if your fuel cost is really important to you, then a fuel card. Now the problem with fuel cards, now I was going to say a fuel card may be the way to go, but the problem with fuel cards is they only work at select stations. Okay, for example, I had a Pilot Flying J card, and guess where they worked? Pilot Flying J. That's right. The problem I ran into is when I got up into the Northeast, there was Pilot Flying J's up there, but I might have to wait 40 miles to get to one of them when I was actually ready to fill up and take a test. So, it wasn't worth it to me. I used a card called a ComData card. It worked at every fuel station, whether it was a Pilot, Flying J, Petro, TA. It worked at all of them. It gave me a good fuel discount. It wasn't what the other guys was promoting to use strictly buy at their station and use strictly their fuel card. But you know what? When I hit half a tank, bam! I was in there. I was doing my 30-minute break. It was all done and over with in 30 minutes, and I was wheels up flying down the highway because I understood my time was valuable. So part of the concept of this is if you're in a big truck, nobody really respects your time. They don't care about you. They don't care about your time. They don't care about how much money you're making off that load. They just don't, nobody cares, because the general perception in the freight industry when it comes to big truck is, yeah, it gets there when it gets there. And that perception in the hot shotting industry is the kiss of death. If you have that perception and you want to get into hot shot, or you think that applies to hot shot, you don't need to be in hot shot. You need to be in a big truck where nobody values your time. Time is super important in hot shot, and I've got a story coming up as to how valuable your time actually is. It's one of those things that you have to really have a good solid grasp at what your time is worth, because you actually set what your time is worth. Anybody in the freight industry, I don't care if you're in a big truck or you're in a small truck, you set the precedence for what your time is worth. The problem is 99% of the people in the freight industry don't even realize that. They ain't got no clue. In their mind, they're running freight from point A to point B. That's the only thing they're doing. And that's an important part of what we're doing, but it's a really small part of what we're doing. So I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he's a big truck driver. He runs reefer, and he was telling me that he's like, oh yeah, my biggest expense is my fuel. Yes, you spend a lot on fuel in the freight industry. You really do, because these damn things don't run on air. Not yet. No time soon, I'm sure. So, yes, fuel is an actual relative concern. However, your biggest expense in hot shot is your time. Your time in hot shot versus fuel just doesn't even compare, because what you got to understand, especially if you're looking at getting in hot shot, a new owner operator, or you've come out of a big truck and into a small truck, which, oh my God, that's wow. So your time is the thing that defines how you get paid, how much you get paid. In a big truck, what they have is scheduled loads. Okay, so the company says, hey, we've got this much product that we're moving from point A to B, and maybe C and D. These are your extra drops, and it's going out on a certain day at a certain time. Okay, it's very scheduled, very rigid, very scheduled, and they leave you a good cushion as far as if anything was to happen, like you pop a tire, or you have to have a PM done on your truck or something like that. So they allow some cushion for that. Okay, that cushion is actually time. Yeah, time that the driver doesn't get back. Yeah, he doesn't get back. Um, Big truck, you show up somewhere early. Say your offload time is 3 o'clock that evening, and you show up 6 that morning. Your ass ain't about to get unloaded. You're sitting there because your offload time is 3 o'clock, not 6 a.m. So it's the big truck market. It's very scheduled out. It's very scheduled out to where your time is only worth a certain amount of money. Okay, now here's the difference. Here's the river card, as they say. In hotshot, the longer something is on your trailer, the less money you make. So if you got a choice between a load that pays, let's just say $3,500, it's on your trailer for a day and a half, and you got a choice, another load pays $5,500 and it's on your trailer for 3 days, you better walk away from that $5,500 load. Unfortunately, greed sets in, and a lot of people don't know their numbers. All they know is, oh my God, this one pays $2,000 more. But it's on your trailer for 2 days longer. That's a problem. It's a significant problem. When I was running up down the highway, I could get $3,500 loads that were on my trailer for a day, maybe a day and a half at the most, all day long. They were just everywhere. I mean, tons of them. Usually I could get 2 of them on my trailer, going the same direction, and they'd be on there for 3 days, and poof, $7 grand. Yeah, no big deal in 3 days. Yep, friggin' happens in hotshot if you know your numbers and you know your time. Okay, so your time management is something that you got to get comfortable with, and most people aren't comfortable with it in the freight industry because they've been institutionalized. That's really what it is. They have been institutionalized to understand that their time's not valuable. They're basically locked behind the wheel of a truck, driving for 11 hours a day, doing a 14-hour work day, 70 hours a week. You're in that thing 7 days a week, 3 or 4 weeks, however long you're out. So you're locked in there, just like being in prison. Just like being in prison. And your yard time is when you get out to fill that damn thing up. Get you a burger at McDonald's or Subway or whatever truck stop you're at. That's your yard time. So they have trained people in the freight industry to be institutionalized. And what's happening when they are training them and sending them out on their runs is they are programming them to understand and have the concept. They are programming them to have the concept that their time's not valuable. And it's the elephant in the room. Nobody talks about it. Everybody knows about it, except for the people doing the driving. The people doing the driving, they ain't got a fucking clue. They think they're just moving product from point A to B. Now, in hotshot, you better know your numbers. You better know how long it takes you to get from point A to B. Because if you don't know this and you show up late, man, I've had it in my rate con. My rate confirmation, if I'm 1 minute late, I'm docked $250. And don't think for one goddamn minute that they won't dock you $250 for being late. I've been there. I got hung up at the fucking gate. Guard wouldn't let me in. He was going through oh my God, he's going through all this bullshit trying to chase down the person, and they're on the phone with me, calling me, going, "Where are you at? The crane's here. We got a crew of 8 men to offload you." And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I am at the gate of this refinery right now trying to get passed in. And yeah, I had to take a 20-question quiz about safety protocols of the refinery that I was pretty goddamn sure I was never going back to again in my life. But yeah, I still had to go through that. It was an hour-long process. So they were planning on offloading me at 8 o'clock, and I didn't come flying in there till 8:50. That's when their guys, because I was on the phone with them. I'm like, guys, I am at the guard shack right now. I am doing the test. I am watching the video. I am, you know, so that saved me $250. Is the fact that they were able to call me and get a hold of me because I'd already been in contact with them. Okay, I called them the day before when the load got put on my trailer. Let them know who I was with, where I was coming from, what I had on my trailer, and most importantly, I told them about what time I was going to be there. Told them exactly when I was going to be there because I knew my average run rate. And so the next morning, the superintendent called me and he said, "Hey man, I thought you were going to be here at 8 o'clock." I'm like, "Dude, I am here. This guard is giving me some shit. I have no idea what is going on with this guy." And he's like, "Well, yeah, you do have to go through the process and this and that." And I was like, "Nobody told me. Nobody told me that getting into a refinery was such a big deal, but it's a big deal. It really is." So anyhow, saved myself $250 that way because the broker was also calling me when I was on the phone with the superintendent explaining to him. He leaves me a nasty voicemail, so I got to call that cocksucker back and tell him, "Look, dude, I'm hung up at this front gate because they want me to watch a video and take a 20-question test, and then they want to make sure I have proper PPE. You know, they want to make sure that I have steel-toe boots, reflective vest, hard hat, safety glasses." If you don't have that shit in your hotshot rig, Love sells hard hats. They sell reflective vests, reflective jackets, whatever. High vis is what it is. It's called high vis. Yeah, you better whip into Love's and you better pick you up some shit because at some point you're going to show up and either number one, they're not going to load you because you don't have high vis, or number two, they're not going to offload you because you don't have high vis, hard hat, and safety glasses. I've showed up to pick up 8.5 foot loads that paid me a hell of a lot of money because it was oversized. And as soon as I pulled up and they said, "Yeah, pull up to bay number 3, I pull up to bay number 3, they rolled the door up, I get out of the truck, and they're like, "Hey man, where's your PPE?" See, this is all about time, right? If you have these things in your truck, you save yourself some time. Because if you don't have these things in your truck, they'll tell you go get some, or they'll find someone else to haul the load. They don't care. So, yeah, I'll get out of the truck. They're like, "Hey, where's your PPE?" And I'm like, "I'm getting it right now." I'm opening the back door of my truck. I'm pulling out my hard hat, my safety glasses, my high vis, you know, my little monkey suit I put on for them. And then they're cool. They're really cool after that. They're like, "Yeah, we hired the right guy." Yeah, because I've had these people call me and they're like, "Hey man, remember that load you did for us a while back?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." They're like, "Well, are you in the area? We've got another one." And if it pays really good, guess who's in the area? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know, because I pretty much run the same circuit. So, yeah, I could be there at that day and that time, and I could make shit happen. And it all goes back to the fact that I knew my time, I knew how long it took me to get from point A to B, and I knew my time was valuable. Okay? So valuing your time is really something that you have to get in the habit of doing. Now, here's the way it works. If you come out of a big truck and you get into a small truck, this is a concept that you are going to struggle. You are going to struggle to wrap your mind around because you have been institutionalized and you've been programmed that your time isn't valuable. Now, fortunately for me, I never did big truck first. Okay, I never did big truck first, so I did not have those bad habits to try to unlearn, and I did not have that conditioning to try to break. Because when you're in a big truck, you are conditioned to understand that the load gets there when it gets there, and your time's not valuable. However, like I said, I come into it with a real fresh perspective. I got my CDL, had my 1 ton and my 40-foot trailer before I even passed the fucking Class A test. I was ready to go. I knew what I was going to do. I had no doubt in my mind that that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I was going to do. If you are new to Hotshot and you're coming at this and you don't really know what you're doing, and you haven't been in a big truck, well, then you are really blessed. You're blessed that you haven't been in a big truck. A lot of people say, well, go into a big truck, learn the ropes, this and that. The only thing getting into a big truck before you get into a Hotshot is going to teach you is how to fuck stuff up. That's exactly what it's going to teach you. It is going to teach you how to completely fuck up the program and lose your shirt in the process. If you get into a big truck first and then think you're going to get into Hotshot, the learning curve is a vertical asymptote. And if you don't know what that is, Google it. It's called a vertical asymptote. And it is super steep, and you just don't get a second chance to mess it up. You don't. You'll make one mistake, and 4 months later you're out of business because of that one mistake. And it usually revolves around your time management. So, like I said, if you haven't been in a big truck and you're getting into a small truck, you're really blessed. You don't have that conditioning. You don't. Now, here's the thing. Anybody that's in a big truck will be glad to tell you how to run a Hotshot rig, even though they've never done it before in their life. They ain't got a clue. To them, you're doing the same goddamn thing they're doing, and you're not. You're not doing the same thing they're doing because you value your time. Okay, in the end, yes, product goes from point A to B, but in a Hotshot rig, you are an on-demand service. You're not a scheduled service. Scheduled services and companies that have scheduled services are for big rigs. They schedule that stuff out 6 months in advance. If something's going on a Hotshot rig, it's usually because they had like a day's notice. They had a day or two to put this shit together and get it shipped out. See how your time is valuable? Because their time is valuable. They want that product to their customer as fast as humanly possible because somebody dropped the ball. Yeah, somebody dropped the ball and didn't pay for it like they were supposed to, or it got hung up in billing. I mean, I've heard all the excuses. It got hung up in billing. It sat there for 2 months. Nobody knew about it. And then all of a sudden the customer said, oh, by the way, we're supposed to put this part in 3 days and it hadn't showed up yet. Where's this part? So they got to build the damn part and get it shipped out and delivered in 3 days. Yeah, that happens. So in the Hotshot industry, you are an on-demand business. Okay, so here's one way to perceive the difference between big truck and Hotshot. Okay, in big truck, you're kind of like a bull mastiff. They're not real fast. They're just slow, powerful creatures. Okay, they're just big lumbering oafs. They just, they go about their business. They've got the intimidation factor because they're big and they're huge and this and that. Whereas a Hotshot rig, you're more like a Belgian Malinois. Your ass is on go and you are ready to make shit happen right out the gate. And that's the one that you got to be worried about, is the Malinois. I promise you, if I got pulled over by the cops and they had a bull mastiff, I would pet that motherfucker and think it's the cutest thing on the face of the planet. But when they pull out a Malinois, my ass tightens up. I'm like, I don't know if this motherfucker is going to eat me alive or lick me to death. It depends on their handler. Depends on what they say, you know. In Hot Shot, you're more like a Malinois. You're really waspy. You're all over this country. You're never in the same place twice. Although I have picked up a lot of loads from the same place twice because I get my shit delivered. I get it delivered on time. And if I'm in a certain part of the country and I like hauling for those people, man, I'll pick the damn phone up. Say, hey, I'm in the area. Just wanted to touch base and see if you guys had anything shipping out that would fit on my trailer. Now, that's the important thing, because I've got my ass in a crack before because I show up and they've got 53 foot worth of shit that's got to go on a 40 foot trailer. Yeah, a lot of chains and binders. Yeah. But I made it happen. Yeah. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that, because they'll usually tell you, oh, this is scheduled out for a 44 footer, or, you know, or this or that, and I just tell them, well, let me show up and let's see what we can do. And I'll show up and we'll stack that shit in there like cordwood. Yeah, we'll stack it in there nice and tight. So, it's all about time management. And if you're in the area and you've hauled for these people before, give them a buzz. You know, give them a buzz. No harm, no foul. Worst case scenario, they say, we've got that brokered out. What's the next words out of your mouth? It better be, oh, who's that broker and what's his number? Yeah, open your fucking mouth, pick the damn phone up and call that guy. Say, hey, you know, there was a spot in Berlin, Wisconsin. It's a Generac factory. I've hauled a lot of shit out of there because I would be up in that circuit. And, you know, if I was empty or I got empty and I was within a couple 100 miles, guess what? I was calling them. I'd give them a call. Right? Or I'd call the broker that I'd actually booked the previous load from there for, and I'd be like, hey, I'm in the area. Can you see if they got anything going out of there? And usually about 20 minutes later, my phone would ring, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, we've got some going to South Carolina. You know, we got 15 generators going to South Carolina. I'm like, all right, sounds good. You know, because I knew what it paid. Knowing your numbers, right? You know, you got to know what the average is, and you know what it paid before. And so, yeah, I'd pop in, pick that shit up, and I was wheels out flying down the highway. Easy squeezy, lemon peasy. No big deal. Yeah, piece of cake. So, time management is something that most people in the freight industry are institutionalized to have no concept of. The way I look at it is, in the freight industry, it's a lot like going to the DMV. That's right, the Department of Motor Vehicles. And if there's such thing as hell on earth, that's it. I know if I die and go to hell, I'm going to find myself standing in a line at the DMV. That's exactly where I'm going to be. And that's going to be my penance right there. That's it. It's stand in line, a line much like the DMV. And then probably when I get up there with my ticket to turn in my paperwork, they'll be like, yeah, you're missing this, so you got to go back to the end of the line. I can see that happening. And that's big truck shit. That's exactly how it happens. Whereas in Hot Shot, you've got your stuff ready, you've got your paperwork ready, you have Google Earth that thing, and guys, I can't harp on this enough, because I have had people, they're like, oh, it's on a Hot Shot rig, and for some reason, they have Googled Hot Shot rig, and they pull up a 20-foot trailer on a pickup truck, not 65 foot a truck and trailer. It takes as much room for a Hot Shot rig, a 1-ton long wheelbase crew cab with a 40-foot trailer to turn around. It actually takes more space to turn around than a semi with a 53-foot box. Yeah, it takes more space. The fifth wheel makes the difference. It really does. They can get themselves worked into little tighter spaces and get themselves out of tighter spaces than you can with a Hot Shot rig, because of the way the fifth wheel's set up. And You know, just the sheer fact of way you can jackknife that thing around. You try to jackknife around a hotshot rig, and you got your trailer in the fender of your truck before you know it. Yeah, it's a bad deal. So, like I said, your time management and understanding what you need to do with your time is really important. And guys, I cannot stress Google Earthing, and do it on every run. It takes 5 minutes. Do you know how long it takes for a wrecker to come out there and pull your ass out of a jam? I don't either. I'm pretty goddamn sure it takes longer than 5 minutes. I had a guy one time. Yeah, here's a short snippet of a story. And this is part of the process. He calls me up and he goes, "Hey, yeah, you're bringing out this," and this was like some 1950 model truck with air brakes. That was the big allure for him buying it, and he was going to use this truck in parades. And he's like, "Oh, it's one of the first ones ever made with air brakes of that genre of truck." I don't even know if it's fucking International, or I think it was in International. I'm pretty sure. I think it had the stacked headlights. Yeah, I think it was. So anyhow, yeah, first one of that genre to have air brakes, and that's why he bought it. And I picked it up in the middle of the cornfield in the middle of Iowa, where the guy that put it back together and restored it had absolutely no fucking distractions, none whatsoever. That was what he did. And when I showed up, he fired it up, let it build air pressure, pulled it up on my trailer, and I chained it down, and we went wheels flying down the highway. So the guy calls me. Somehow he gets my number, which I appreciate that. You know, I don't mind these people having my number. That's why I have a fucking phone. Call me. See if I give a shit. Yeah. So, guy calls me and goes, "Hey, it says here you're on a hotshot rig, not a semi." And this is where I fucked up. Okay? This is where this cowboy fucked up. I said, "Yes, this is a hotshot rig." Because in my mind, everybody knew what a 40-foot hotshot rig was. Yeah, that's where I fucked up. Yeah. And he goes, "Well, hey, instead of taking it to the delivery address, I want you to bring it to this other address." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll bring it to this other address. Not a problem, not a problem." He says, "I'll back it off the trailer, no big deal." Because that's what I asked him, is someone going to be there to offload this? And he said, "Oh, yeah." So what do I do that evening? I Google Earth that bad boy. It's on a winding ass road in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. And, but I did see a little spot about an eighth of a mile from the address that showed up on Google Earth, and it looked like a turnaround spot. Yeah, no big deal. It looked like a gravel lot where I could spin around and get the hell out of there. Now, what I should have said is, we are comparable to a semi truck with a 53-foot box. Can you get an 18-wheeler turned around right down the road from you? Is what I should have said. I should have called them back, and I didn't. I seen that on Google Earth, and I said, "Yeah, I can get spun around right there." And what I should have said is, I called them back and said, "Hey, listen, I see this spot where I can turn around. Can I get spun around down there?" So, like a dumbass, I get the new address. I go down there. I show up. He offloads it off the truck, and I go down about an eighth of a mile to the turnaround, and there's a big cable across the deal. Big problem. So I said, well, maybe a little further down. And the further down I get, this twisting, winding road, the narrower it gets. So I end up hooking a left. I follow it down, and it's some guy's driveway. It goes to some guy's driveway in the middle of a field. And I'm like, oh, shit. This is a problem. You see how that 5-minute phone call would have saved me quite a bit of time and potentially a wrecker fee? So I have to back, and I look. I'm like I said, I noted it. I ended up backing up 2 miles down a twisting, winding ass road. Back, and actually, the guy actually come down there, got me. He heard that I was hung up because I was getting frustrated, and so anyhow, he said, "Man, I never expected this much truck and trailer." I wanted to slap that motherfucker. Is what I wanted to do. But instead, I was cool. I said, hey, I am gonna have to back out into the main highway blind. I said, I need you with your flashers on, flagging people, stopping them or slowing them out, or anybody that's coming my way, because once I start backing out, and it was uphill onto this little highway, uphill and this way, I'm committed. I'm committed, and I gotta make this happen. So yeah, that's where I fucked up. And a 5-minute phone call would have saved me because I could have delivered to the original location, which was right in the middle of town. It had an offloading ramp. I passed right by it because I looked at it and I seen it and I said it was on my maps and I said, oh, that's where we're supposed to offload. Yeah, yeah. That was a knuckleheaded move on my part. I mean, the dumbest shit I've ever done in my life was go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take it this other one. Is not calling this guy and going, hey, can you turn around the tractor trailer right down the road from you? Because that's what I told him whenever I got hung up down there. And he said, oh, yeah, they cabled that off. They got tired of people turning around in their property. So, yeah, time management. Yeah, it's pretty damn important. So I've got a story, and I usually try to have a story about time management. Okay, and usually I try to wrap my little synopsis up here with the story. All right, so this was on a Thursday. I got loaded with 2 loads on my 40-foot trailer, and I had about 8 feet left. And this was down in Houston because that's where I lived at the time. I had about 8 feet of space left, and I was cruising the load boards that evening, and this load popped up. This load was about 7 feet, and took up about 7 foot of my deck space. It was about 2,000 pounds. No big deal. I think it was 2 pallets is what it added up to. So I said, yeah, it's 7 o'clock at night. I'll call this broker. What the hell? I ain't got nothing to lose. So I called the broker, and guess what? She answered. She answered the phone, and she's like, well, yeah, it's got to go out tomorrow. I said, well, I'm headed to North Little Rock, Arkansas, and this is going to Beebe, Arkansas, which is just north of there. I said, now the question I asked her, I said, now is this load ready to go? And she said, oh yeah, it's ready to go. I said, okay, because here's the deal. I said, I've got 2 loads on my trailer. One is dropping in North Little Rock, and one is dropping in Jacksonville. I've got room for this. I can do this, and it only paid like $400. But shit, I knew that area, and I knew that I was already headed that direction. I said, now the caveat to this is it's got to be ready to load by 8 o'clock. And she says, oh yeah, you can load at 7. I said, okay. I said, send the paperwork over. I will. I'll pick it up for you. No big deal. And she goes, oh, that's great. That's great, because it had to go out tomorrow. So the next morning, I show up at 7 o'clock. And I walk in, and the guy in shipping, his name is Bob. Let's call him Bob. Yeah. We're going to call him Bob. I'm just going to say his name is Bob. And Bob's not there. And he is the only guy in the shipping department, evidently. He doesn't have a flunky. He doesn't have a second. He doesn't have anybody that can take the reins while Bob is doing what Bob's do. Okay. So I see a guy buzzing around on a forklift. Bingo. Got this guy. All right. So I flag him down out there by my truck, trailer, ready to go. Got deck space ready. And I show him what I got, and he goes, oh yeah, that's it right there. And there's a crate sitting there. which is about 8 foot by 8 foot. Um, okay. Um, you gonna put this on my truck for me? He goes, no, I can't do that. Fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? Hey, I'm here. I got empty deck space. You know, I'm here. You're here. You got a forklift. The package is right there. Right there. The numbers on the BOL matched. So I knew that was my package. And I said, yeah, can't we do this? Can't you scoop this up and put it on my truck? He goes, no. He says, I'm in shipping. I'll get in trouble if I put that on your trailer. Are you fucking high? What are you talking about? What do you mean you get in trouble? And I asked him that exactly like this. Like, what do you mean you'll get in trouble? He said, no. He said at some point we had something go on the wrong trailer and it went the wrong place. And he said, I'm in shipping, I'm in receiving. He said, I'm in receiving. I can't put that on your trailer. And I was like, look, dude, the numbers match. The numbers match. It's the exact dimensions that I have on this paperwork. And he said, no, somebody in shipping's gonna have to put that on your trailer. He said, I'm in receiving. I can't do that. I'll get in trouble. Okay, who do I talk to? He says, well, go in and talk to, I can't remember, Jim or whoever. So I go in and I find Jim, and I said, hey, Jim, I'm here to get this right here. And I show him my paperwork, go through it with him. I'm very cordial, very polite, even though the fucking steam is starting to rise. I'm just like, by the way, and I step over there, and I'm right there where he is, and I'm like, that's my package right there by my truck and trailer. The numbers match. I said, can you have your guy with the forklift put this on my trailer? He goes, well, he says, no, I really can't. He said, we're the receiving department. He said, Bob, I can't even remember the guy's name. I was so fucking mad. Bob is in the shipping department, and you'll have to wait till Bob gets here. Oh my God. Next words out of my mouth. When do you expect Bob to be here? And then I get the synopsis that Bob has been with the company for 15 years. Bob is fucking special. He is supposed to be there by 7 o'clock. However, there are days that Bob doesn't show up until after 8 o'clock, till 8:30 or 9. Oh, really? And they were like, yeah, that's just Bob. He's in the shipping department. He takes care of all that. If we put something on your trailer and it goes to the wrong place or it's the wrong product, he'll try to get us fired because he's been there so long. Okay. I'm like, do you anticipate Bob being here by 8 o'clock? Because, guys, it was an 8x8 package, 2 straps. I'm wheels up flying down the highway. As soon as it hits the deck of my trailer, I am fucking out of there. And they're like, yeah, he should be here by then. Probably 7:45 at the latest. Okay. It's time to be cool. Okay? Time to be cool. Don't get upset. Don't get bent out of shape. Just be cool. So, I knew it took me 7.5 hours to get from Houston, Texas to North Little Rock, Arkansas. How did I know that? You're goddamn right. I knew my numbers. I knew my average run rate. The most important thing, you don't need to give a shit about your fuel cost. What you need to give a shit about is how long it takes you to get from point A to B. If you're in hot shotting or you're new to the freight industry, the only fucking thing you need to eat, sleep, and breathe is how long it takes you to get from point A to point B on average. That's it. That is the only thing you need to eat, sleep, and breathe for about a month, at least, until you completely wrap your mind around it and understand it. Okay? So I knew how long it took me to get from point A to B. So I go out to my truck, get in the seat, and I call my drop. My first drop in North Little Rock, Arkansas. And I said, okay, hey, I identified myself, told them who I was with, what I had on my trailer. I said, what time do you guys close? And they said, well, oh, and by the way, you talk to somebody in receiving. Don't you talk to that fucking phone Nazi. Because when that bitch answered the phone, I identified myself and told her who I was and this and that. And she goes, oh, yeah, we usually don't leave till 6 o'clock. Oh, that's great. I need to speak with someone in receiving. And she's like, and she didn't want to put me through. And I said, look, what's your name again? What is your name? I said, because when I pull this off my trailer and it doesn't show up today, I want them to know that you're the reason why. And then all of a sudden, she's like, well, let me put you through to whoever it was. And I get on the phone with him, and he said, hey, listen, we are out of here 4:30 at the latest. He said, we are out of here. We are gone. He said, now the place don't close till 6. A lot of people get out of here at 6. He said, but the receiving department, we're usually out of here by 4:30 because our guys start at 6 in the morning. I said, okay, I can respect that. No big deal. I said, well, I am in Houston, Texas, and I'm heading your way. I said, I just wanted to make sure what time you guys leave. And he said, okay, so you're bringing us in today. I said, that is exactly what's fixing to happen, partner. And he said, okay. I said, by the way, I think his name was Sean. I said, by the way, Sean, what's your cell number? And he rattled it off for me. And I wrote it down on my BOL. Sean, 501, whatever his number was. So I was cool about it. So I go back into the building. It's going 7:55 now. 7:55 in the morning, Houston, Texas. And I find the guy that I talked to earlier, who evidently is in receiving. And I said, hey, has Bill showed up? And they're like, no, we hadn't seen him. I said, well, can you call him? And they go, no, we're not going to call Bill. I said, well, I'm sorry, but my understanding is that package has to be delivered today. And they're like, well, yeah, it does. And I said, you don't, I'm sorry, Bill or Bob, whatever the fuck his name was. He's like, yeah, no, we're not calling them. So I waited till 8 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock on the dot, I go back inside because it's like a little 20-foot walk there. And I said, hey, has Bob showed up yet? And they're like, no, Bob hadn't showed up yet. You're just going to have to wait till he shows up. So I go out there. I'm running out of time because I know my average run rate. I crawl in the seat of my truck, and then I put my seatbelt on, I put that fucker in gear, and I get the hell out of there. Wheels up, flying down the highway. The broker, evidently, about 20 minutes later, calls me. And she's like, I heard you left. I'm like, yeah, Bob's not there. And she's like, I need you to turn around and go pick that up. And I'm like, no, that ain't happening. It's too late. It is too late. I'm not turning around. And the main reason why I didn't turn around is because I couldn't. My loads had to be delivered on Friday. And this was Friday, coincidentally. And then my next load that I was putting on my trailer was I was loading it on Saturday, and that was a $6,000 load, and that damn thing was only going about 750 miles. Um, so no, I couldn't. There's just no way I could afford to do that over a $400 piece of load. And so anyhow, she calls me back. She's like, "Listen, Bob's there." And this was about 45 minutes later, and I'm like, "I'm on the toll road. I can't. It's too late." I said, "Sugar, it is too late. You told me that this would be ready to load at 7. 8 o'clock, Bob wasn't there." I said, "I don't know who you need to talk with at that company about Bob's behavior, but good luck. From my understanding, Bob's been there 15 years and he's special." I said, I don't know what to tell you. I said, I can't help you." And she's like, "Listen, I will pay you $800 if you will go back and pick this up." And I'm like, "No, I'm on the fucking toll road. I'm 45 minutes away. If I go back and pick up an $800 load, not only do I not get these 2 loads that are on my trailer off today, um, but I miss my load tomorrow." So you can see how understanding your time and what you can do with your time, even more importantly, and what you can't do with your time is super important. Now, I'm sure somebody in a big truck, they would have spun around, went back, kissed Bob's ass, let him know they were sorry for leaving, whatever. Bob would have felt like he was important, and put that shit on their trailer. That is rookie shit. That is rookie shit that you do. Once you were wheels up flying out of there, you never look back. That's in your rearview mirror, and you ain't looking that way. It ain't happening. So it's really important to know your numbers, understand your time, what you can do with your time, and what you can't do with your time. Now, when I got to North Little Rock, I was on the phone with him 15 minutes out, and I called him 2 hours out, and I called him 15 minutes out, and I told them I am right around the corner, and they said, "We're fixing to close the gate. If you ain't here in the next 10 minutes, we'll offload you Monday." All because of Bob. Yeah, all because of fucking Bob. So anyhow, I run the fucking red light. Boom, bam. No, nobody ran. I mean, boom. I throttled that Cummins up, and I got the hell on down the road. And I was getting after it. And as soon as I seen the sign of the place that I was wheeling into, there was a guy out there swinging the gate shut. And this was a 2-gate system. He was swinging one of them shut, and I shot right by his ass, slammed on the fucking brakes, slid in there, jumped out, started popping straps loose, and he looks over there, and he looks down, and he just shakes his head. And I'm like, "Here's your shit." That was my exact disposition, is "here's your shit." And there's a guy up on the dock up there, and I seen him just, he looked at the guy out there at the fence like, "Why didn't you close that quicker?" And I'm walking up there with my BOL and my Raycon, and actually the BOL, I had the Raycon on the back. You don't ever want them to see that, by the way. And I'm like, "Here, sign, print your name, and date this, please." And I get him to sign, print, and date. The other guy's pulling the shit off my truck. I go back out there, I spool my stuff up, I throw it all into the truck, and I am getting the hell out of there. This whole process took about 5 minutes. So you can see how important your time is, and knowing your time and knowing your numbers. Knowing your average run rate, that is super critical. So anyhow, that's my little synopsis on time management and how important it is. Because I actually called the people in BB, and I was like, "Hey, I'm headed your direction." And they said, "Oh, we didn't think you'd be there till Monday." I said, "No, I'll be there in 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, I think is how far out I was by then." I said, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I need you to get this off my truck today." And they were like, "Oh, we thought we'd wait till Monday." I said, "Nope. I don't care if it's 9 o'clock tonight. I need it off my truck." And they're like, oh, okay, we'll send somebody over there. Call me when you get there. So 30 minutes later, I'm calling him going, dude, I'm waiting on you. So they sent a guy out. He fired up a SkyTrak, pulled it off my truck, and I had an empty trailer. And I went and got my next load the very next morning. Yeah, yeah. So that's how important your knowing your numbers and your time management is, guys. If you pass a critical threshold, or you reach that critical threshold, um, to hell with it all. You throw that fucker in drive and you get the hell out of there, and you don't go back for any amount of money. You throw it in drive and you are wheels up flying out of there. Yeah, that's my little rant, my little story. I usually try to have a pretty good story about where I've fucked up and hopefully what you can learn from. Maybe you can learn something from this. I hope you guys learn from my videos, because I don't think I can ever harp on knowing your numbers enough. I just, yeah, I'm sure there's no way to harp on that enough, because your numbers, knowing your numbers, is exactly how you get paid. And that makes the difference between your truck making 5,000 a week and your truck making potentially 9 to 12,000 a week. That one thing, just knowing your numbers. That's pretty damn important. Okay, so that's my time management story. Guys, work on your numbers. Work on your numbers. You got to work on your numbers. Like I said, I talked to a lady that was looking at getting in the hot shot. She was coming out of a big rig, and after about 30 minutes on the phone with her, I realized I can't help this woman. She don't know her numbers. She thinks you're just moving shit from point A to B. And a hot shot rig is much more expensive to operate than a big rig. It is. It's much more expensive than a big rig. Your insurance is more. Your cost to operate is more. I mean, shit, you're only getting 50,000 miles out of a set of tires. Those big rigs, 100,000, 200,000, pretty easy. I mean, yeah. Oil changes in a big rig every 75,000 miles. In that hot shot, you're changing the oil every month. Every month when you go home, guess what? Oil change, fuel filter. Every damn month. So, anyhow, I can drone on and on about that. But, yeah, that's my story. Leave a like, leave a share, whatever you want to do. Tell me to fuck off, I don't care. But I'll bring you some more videos in the future about things that I have found success with, and some knuckleheaded things that I probably haven't. So, anyhow, have a good day. Bye-bye.